Welcome back to Arc Tutorials. This is JavaScript Top 100 Coding Interview Questions and Answers. These are the commonly asked questions in interviews, and also these coding snippets are something that you will use on your day-to-day basis as a full stack or a front-end developer. Today's question is, explain the difference between object.freeze versus constant. This is question number 6 of the series. Let's get started. Before we start coding, I'll request you to kindly check out my ebook, which covers more than 100 plus coding snippets, which will help you become better developer as well as help you in cracking the front-end developer interviews. Check out the book at arctutorials.gumroad.com. Alright, so today's question is, explain the difference between object.freeze versus constant. Constant applies to bindings. It means it will create an immutable binding. That means we cannot assign a new value to the binding. Whereas object.freeze works on values, more specifically object values. It makes an object immutable. You cannot change its properties when used with use strict mode. I'll show you now with coding and hands-on example. So I have it here blank. So let me start with first with a variable constant, and I'm going to say month equal to July. So I have a value which is a string, and I have assigned a value to it which is July. Now what happens when I try to assign a new value to it? So let's see that. So if I say month is equal to Feb. So now if I try to console log, it will give me an error on line number 5. Okay, because you cannot assign to a constant. Let's see that in action. So here we can see it says assignment to constant variable. Alright, so this is the constant variable. But now let's see with different variations with object. So now let's create an object here. So I'm going to comment this because it will give us error. Now, or I'll just comment it out for your reference. So now I'm going to create, let's say, I'll create an object called person and have a key and say arc tutorials. So this is an object, simple object. Now I'm going to say object dot freeze person. Okay. So now what do you expect this will happen? So this we will expect that this has to be freeze. That means we cannot change the values. Okay. But let's see what it happens if I try to assign a value to it. Okay. So here I'll say person dot name equal to hello world. Okay. Now see if I console log person, what is the expected output? It should still be arc tutorials, right? Since we used object.freeze, it cannot, even though we are assigning the value directly here, it will not apply. Okay, so it will not give us error, but it will not update the value. Okay, and that's a very key important thing, because in real-time applications you might want to freeze some objects. You don't want the user to update mistakenly or accidentally, so you will freeze those objects. I hope it's clear that why we cannot use const in place of object, right? Here we will get an error in line number 5 if we try to update this value. Here we will not get an error if we are not using use strict. Now if I use strict and run the same thing, we will get an error, right? So if you are running ES6 on modern browsers without using use strict, you will not get an error, but it will not update the value as well. Okay, I hope it's clear, because this is one of the most frequently asked questions in interviews. Also, as a developer, you should be knowing these basic things. That's all for today's on this question. Thank you so much for joining. I'll continue this series and I'll cover all the questions covered in the ebook. You can check out the ebook at arctutorials.gumroad.com. I'll recommend that you get this book if you want to become a full stack developer or want to crack any front end interviews. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to subscribe. Ask me your doubts in the comment section. Thank you again for joining. See you in the next episode.